Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the July 2nd meeting of the Design Review Board. We are continuing the meeting with a new application, DRB number DRB241019, 1339 14th Terrace.
The next item on the agenda is DRB 24-1019, 1339 14 Terrace, Casa Leroy Dobles. An application has been filed requesting design review approval for a new 4-story duplex residential building, including one or more waivers to replace an existing residence on the site.
Okay, so this is a 50-foot wide interior parcel. It's located in the West Avenue Overlay District. It has RM1 zoning, so that's low-intensity multifamily residential. The applicant is proposing to construct a building that has 3 habitable floors and then a ground floor that consists of parking and an entrance lobby. It's going to be a duplex, 2 side-by-side units, roughly the equivalent square footage for each of those units. It's in a neighborhood that has a variety of different types of low-scale buildings, including some single-family homes built between the 1920s and the 1950s. And there are also several contemporary 4- and 5-story buildings in the immediate area. I believe there's a new building under construction immediately to the west of the site. It's about a 4-story building. The applicant is requesting a design waiver regarding the clearance of the garage level. The code currently requires that there be a minimum of 12 feet clear at that first level for habitable spaces. The applicant is requesting a waiver that be reduced to 10 feet. Given that the only real habitable space at that first level is an entrance lobby and entrance vestibule, staff really is not opposed to that. That's sufficient clearance for an entrance vestibule, and if that height has to be reduced in the future due to raising of the roads, reducing that to 8 feet shouldn't be a major issue. So staff is supportive of the waiver. The design of the duplex is in contemporary form. Rectilinear massing, has again the common ground floor. It has 4 parking spaces. It has a storage, trash, entrance vestibule at the ground level. The landscaping, it has landscaping that follows up the facade of the building. Staff does recommend that there be screening of the garage along the openings on the side and rear elevations in order to prevent light spillage from the garage and other noise impacts from the garage on the adjacent properties. Staff is supportive of the design overall and recommends that the Design Review Board approve it subject to the conditions in the draft order.
You begin your presentation.
Good morning. My name is Ronnie Mateo. I'm the architect, 8887 Southwest 131st Street, Miami, Florida. Some of you may have been here a couple of years ago when we actually presented a project on the same site, and it was approved by this board. The bad news was that the owner at the time, after approval, decided to sell the project. The good news is that I got hired again by the new buyer to design this time a duplex on the same site. It is a small site. We have taken a design program that basically is a mirror image of each other. We did the duplexes in a vertical format, side by side, but we wanted to treat the front. I don't know if I can put this on the screen. Here we go. There is an existing structure there, a 1-story house that would be demolished. The project is across the street on the north side of a building that's under construction, a multi-story, 4 or 5-story building on the south side. On this drawing, site number 1 to the west of our property is currently empty, but it had been a site where there had been a 5-story multifamily project proposed before, and I think it was also approved by this board, but it's never been built yet. These are some of the images of the neighbors. The neighborhood is an eclectic neighborhood composed of some remnant houses, some one-story houses are still in the neighborhood, and yet construction is taking place. And for example, the second from the left on the top is a building across the street on the south of our property being under construction, and some of the variety of buildings and architecture in the neighborhood. Our plan is really a very simple approach in design. We are meeting, as it was stated earlier, we're asking for no variances except that change of level of the first level to reduce actually instead of grow. We have a lobby that is entered from pedestrians on the left side of the property and a driveway on the right side. And then the parking areas are all hidden from the street side by the lobby and the stairs that form the entry to the multi-level design. That front part of the building acts sort of like a front porch. It's a transparent sort of design that has a combination of horizontal louver elements for shading on the south side, and also a vertical green wall proposal along the front of the property on the corner to the east side. This green wall is also visible from the inside of what I'm calling the sort of porch facade in front of the units, and it is accessible for maintenance from inside. And we have the system that we're proposing here in our presentation. The plans are symmetrical about both sides. The big feature of our design is that in the center, let me go back to the second floor plan, which is the main level. It's sort of a big great room space, but it has sort of in the dining area, it has sort of a two-story volume that allows us to provide glass on east side and the west side for a full two-story height, and that allows light and openness to be part of the design. The back is a bedroom on the back side on the second floor. And then on the third floor, we have two more bedrooms, including the master on the back side. Again, with a whole series, and I'll show you in the elevations in a minute, of punctures and design features and plantings around the facade of the building to break up the volumes. The building also has a roof deck that has a series of spaces starting with a sort of a covered dining area, and then it's a trellised patio area, and then an open area where a small pool is at the back. These are the elevations and the relationships of the existing block and the street. Our elevations for the buildings are designed to be a sort of a composition of shapes and windows, and again some louvered spaces that allow light to come in and yet shading. Score lines for the simple palette of materials that we are proposing, which are stucco, white tile, and exposed concrete, with the louvered elements being metal tubes in a sort of a brownish color. Again, part of the composition is to introduce landscaping and planting and planters in not only just in the front, but along some of the facades in the front, the sides, and back. We think this is a very simple, clean design that will make a great neighbor to this community. And again, some of the images here that show the transparency, especially in the front, the landscaping in a very tight lot that we've brought up vertically, especially in the front, and specifically the intent to make the front facade, which is obviously the most important in this interior lot. All of the facades we consider to be important, but this one, we wanted to have a composition that wasn't a duplex-looking facade, but rather made the facade in the front an interesting and visible, transparent facade. These are images from the different sides and the neighborhoods, and we are looking forward to hearing your comments. I'm sorry, I failed to introduce Ken Gardner, our landscape architect, who's here, that will be able to say anything and everything about green things that we have introduced here in this project. Finally, the materials. Again, a simple palette of textures, colors, green vertical materials, and then some detailing of the system that we're proposing for the vertical wall that is accessible and visible from both sides, the inside of the sort of front porch and the outside, the facade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? No? Maybe online?
Nobody online.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm now going to close the public portion and open it up to the board for comment. I should say I was one of the people that was here that approved the first version. And it's interesting that this would come back because, you know, these are such, as you know, challenging lots, awkward code. You've managed to squeeze a lot in a small space. So yeah, and then you had to do the challenge all over again. So any other one? I can start. I think that there's a lot of, you know, interesting elements and thought put into this design. And of course, like, you know, that rooftop is really, you know, clearly a selling point. I had some thoughts though about the relationship of the detailing, the window placement, the fenestration on the facade, in that there seems to be a lot of elements that, well, I felt like I wanted some design cohesion as to when things begin and end. Let me see if I can bring up the picture to sort of explain, you know, this, I guess if you go to, in the presentation to, on page 10, if you want to bring it up. Maybe the next.
Page 10 of this
Of
presentation?
the architectural presentation. I don't know if that's the, yeah, that's something like,
Okay,
or
you want
maybe
to
the
see
next
this?
one.
Then, before? This one.
Maybe the next, yeah, those.
Okay.
So, you know, you have this, the wood, you know, that sort of goes up almost from the ground, and, you know, I understand the placement of that, it indicates the stair, and then you have it then becomes a horizontal band, and then it sort of goes around, but then it stops, and then it starts again. And so, and then if you look at the rear elevation, it's the same thing with the window placements. Like, I'm not quite sure, one of the choices, I understand the rear elevation, those are the bedrooms, that it's, you know, going to be, it seems like a double height ceiling. A light is going to come in from the uppers, and then you have the lower ones with the plantings, which is lovely. But then the second, yeah, I guess it's the second story or the first habitable story. that to me seemed like, again, there wasn't the same intention. One of the things I noticed that with the floor plan is you put the bathrooms on the outside wall, and I thought that was an interesting choice because it seemed like the bedroom itself was now not going to get any natural light.
Okay, hold on, let me.
I know
go
that was a
back
lot.
to-
So, the second floor plan. Yeah. So maybe I was reading the plan wrong, but I was wondering why towards the back of the building there wasn't a lot of windows or open, and it seemed like it was because you had the bathrooms along the rear.
Well, we did put intentionally the bathrooms on the back, and we do have some punctured windows in the bedroom. When you open the door, you see right through to a vertical window at the end, by the entrance, by the sinks. And then on the sides, we had closets along the outside walls with punctured windows again at the ends. I mean, these are all things that we can manipulate and move or add if that's an issue. We felt that people would probably prefer to have more closet storage space in bedrooms than not. This is why we did this, and these are not huge bedrooms. But that's why we located them where we did, and in the floor plan, you can actually also see that there's a glass where the showers are. There's a glass that looks into the bedroom, so you get light through the shower, if you will. That's sort of a thing that we've been doing on some of our houses to have you be able to see from the bathroom and the bedroom, and it's sort of a funky little idea of allowing light and yet openness.
That you'd want privacy in the bathroom, and you'd want to see a view from the bedroom.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have both, but you're suggesting that it's not enough, not big enough for the views from the bedroom.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's raised up, at least now, there's just a single-story house on that, the northern, the east side.
The other,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so did
Go ahead.
we catch any of that? So I had just said that I'm surprised in a bedroom you'd want privacy in the bathroom and views from the bedroom, and that's not necessarily how you've designed it. And I think that relates, if you could also bring up on the presentation, this illustrates what I was saying before as well as this better, page 13.
This one?
Keep going. It's a rendering.
Oh, okay.
Next. That.
Okay.
So this shows really how it seems like the bedrooms, which is on the lowest level, in the corner you have those two square windows, that those are the only, that there's not a lot of natural light being able to come into the bathroom. I mean, into the bedroom. You said you put the closets there. So I just thought that was a little odd. And this view also shows how, again, the wood, the trellis or the wood paneling, or the wood screening, it starts, it stops, one goes, I understand why, okay, that goes along the roof, but it seems like it should connect to the other similar wood feature in the front, but it doesn't. I just feel like the placement of the windows and the elements along the outside need to be a little bit more cohesive and tell a story and reflect the intention of the activities of what's going on inside. I do like that you've made this wall sort of thin, jutting out to delineate that it is a duplex, and that's what I want to see, that sort of intention with all of the elements that are punctuating the facade of this is defining a space for a reason.
Part of the reason, and we can certainly add if that is a recommendation, we could certainly consider adding more light to the lower bedrooms. Part of the reason we sort of did it more on the north elevation is because the setback from the back to the property line and the next neighbor to the north is farther. So the reality is that at some day, the neighbor to our east and the neighbor to our west are going to be building probably 4 or 5-story buildings. And I was concerned that having too many glass pieces to those sides would be an issue with privacy, because the setbacks are less on the sides than on the back. And again, by doing the glass in the shower and having glass from the shower to the bedroom, that allows light and your ability to see through a space rather than just on the edge. But we can certainly add another window, reduce the closet spaces on the wall, and put another opening on the side. But that's part of the reason why we tried to sort of limit, for privacy reasons, the openings to the sides, especially in a bedroom. We are more generous, obviously, in the great room space that has the louvers. That's a 2-story glass space that lets light into the public's, but that's more of a public sort of
I mean, I
arrangement.
just think that, I understand very much what you're saying about the size, and there's going to be buildings there. Typically what we see in those situations is that that there's a lot of windows in the front of the building and a lot of windows on the back of the building to let in that light. And, in the front of your building, it's, access, it's a stairwell and a solid. I just guess the opportunities to let in natural light in your design are very limited. And I just wonder, I'm always looking about how to make the most livable spaces possible. And certainly for your client, clearly how to sell these spaces. And it just seems like there are opportunities that maybe are not being taken advantage of. And, just commenting that should be explored. I would also say too, and the green wall was in the previous design. Yes.
We had
am I-
agreed,
yeah.
yes.
I think one of the things we're always concerned as a board with a green wall because of the maintenance. And I know that was talked about, and there was that one, with the one owner was committing to maintaining that. But especially when you have a condominium and, who knows what the owners will want to commit to. Are they going to be full-time or going to be part-time? That typically a green wall is not something that we allow in a condominium, a property like this. And it's definitely something that I would, discourage you from including. So I'm not sure what my other board members are going to say, but that's typically something that we don't encourage or allow. I'm sure there'll be other comments as they come up, but that was just sort of, to start off.
I was going to say that I do appreciate sort of the way you described the architecture, and the fact that it isn't so obvious of, a duplex, and that there's a little bit more language in there. And I think too that ambiguous, that some of the sort of what we're struggling with in terms of reading the other facades. And I think just building off of Sarah's point, it seems like on the east and west elevations, you're showing windows where there's, or currently, no, I guess that's at the upper. I was going to say where there's currently closets, but that's at the upper floor. The green wall, I don't know. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I also wanted to comment that I appreciated the approach to the landscape. I appreciated sort of the wall that, so I'm trying to get back to a rendering now, where you're just like, here's our yard. It is this raised yard. You're driving in on one side and sort of stepping up on the other, and that the whole yard looks to be sort of planted with native plants and to be, collecting rainwater. So I think that may also take care, and maybe there's a way to get a commitment in terms of the green wall on the facade. But I do like the language of how the landscape is working with the building right now. So maybe if there's a way to get a commitment from it, or if, I don't know if you guys have tried that before and it just doesn't work.
I think if I may say that part of the reason, we we picked this green wall system is because and we put it in a place that was open behind it, so that you can access, maintain, et cetera, but also you have green. It's not just the backside, on the inside, it's not just the backside of the green things that look pretty on the outside, but it's actually a dual green wall that is green on both sides. But the bigger thing was that in the prior, I think on the prior design 2 years ago, it was hard to get to the back of that wall because it was behind a two-story volume that you couldn't, access. But in this case, you can at each level. So I think that mitigates the concern, and I'm sure that whatever if you say that part of any approval would be to have some sort of a maintenance program or something, that I'm sure that would be acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, if you drive around the city, there are buildings that green wall type were proposed and approved, and some of them look lovely, and others don't.
We did
And it really
one-
just depends on, especially like with this being, you don't really know who's going to end up owning the building, and we can have this. I mean, I'm sure every time we approve a building, the condition is it has to be maintained, and it's just not. And then there's so much of the green wall. I mean, I would maintain it. Sounds like you would maintain it, but there's just a little bit too many unknowns for me to think that this is, a not environmentally sustainable, but just a sustainable design in the future to plan for future different owners, and maybe even the initial round of owners fall in love with it because of the green wall. But who's to say what happens down the line, and then we're stuck with two large sections of black or whatever material is underneath there. So
Well, again, it's transparent, so that's why we did it there, so that we could have access to the back.
so it's not, if I were to take off all the green, that wall is not solid.
No,
What does that look like?
It's an open space with the green wall system is what clads the openings. So if you were to take the green walls out, there would be big open, we'd have to do something obviously for railings or something, or a grill or something to keep
Right.
people from falling over, but it's open. That's the difference of why I think this green wall idea makes some sense here.
I mean, there's a building on West Avenue. It's a large condominium building that has, what were supposed to be vines all over the building. And in some places it looks good, in some places it doesn't. It's just, I just think it's poor planning to have, you just never know. I think it just requires a lot of maintenance, and I don't know if the people that are going to be in charge of that maintenance are going to commit to that. It's expensive. And then, yeah, I mean, having lived in a condominium building, it's hard to get people to spend money on something after they've now just spent so much money on their own unit. How much money are they going to put to perhaps fixing whatever is left behind? That's just my opinion. That's just where it is. Were there other thoughts that you had, or you like the?
Well, I completely understand where you're coming from and the history of the board. I do want to say that I appreciate that it's a system you're proposing and not just, oh, we're going to have a stucco wall with, a tray and vines are going to grow. And from the discussion we had earlier about the Whole Foods, again, I understand these are individuals and not a company, but we're putting our faith into them to let landscape be architecture. So I would want to put my faith in here. And I appreciate, again, that it's been thought about, that it's a system. So I would be in favor of supporting it, but I also understand the history, so.
Scott, did you have some thoughts?
I mean, I agree with both of them, but if you have a system, I guess, how dependable is the system, and has it been proven and used locally anywhere that?
Yes, you don't remember if it says, we put it in the drawings, but I can make available, they're a local firm
Okay.
that installs these.
So they install it,
Yes.
And is it,
It's got its own water.
do you know what the plant material is?
The plant material we can pick.
Do you know, Ken?
No, we don't.
Not yet.
The provider will work with.
Can you please come up to the mic if you're gonna, yeah.
Good afternoon, Ken Gardner, GSLA Design Landscape Architects, 17670 Northwest 78th Avenue. We don't know the material yet, but we will work with the supplier and the maintainer of that system to select, plant material that'll be appropriate for this. So again, you have one side that's facing south, you're gonna have one side facing north. We'll have to select the proper material for both sides to ensure that it'll be good. But as Ronnie had mentioned, that the system is equipped with an irrigation too, so most of them aren't, and this is a much better way.
Can you guarantee that this is something that's going to be maintained no matter who buys it? Or is it just going to become an eyesore? Or you can change it for something that will look really good for as long as the building exists? I mean, I think that's the question that I seem to be asking, because even if the greens aren't there, then we're left with this industrial-looking black gridded planter situation. I mean, I'm just basing this on the experience of what it is, but I don't think it's the smartest choice for a project like this, as lovely as it is, and I do like the yard that you like. I really like the concept, but I don't think that the execution is gonna last in the ways that we're all hoping it will, and that's my hesitation.
If it's not a green wall, what is it? Have you thought about that?
No. We did the green wall for a number of reasons. We felt, obviously, that it helped soothe the very architectural, sort of modern vocabulary that we do in most of our work. We thought it was also a way to mitigate resilience and add more green things to the design in a very tight site. I'm a little actually perplexed a little bit about how you're not liking the idea of a green wall. And
I wish I could get you the address of the building I'm talking about on West Avenue and to have you drive by it, and you're gonna look at it and say, oh, and that's a taller building. Do you know what building I'm talking about?
Monad Terrace?
I don't.
And
remember.
I can also give you the address of another house that we did in Miami Beach that has a green wall in the front.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a
That are-
neighbor that has a beautiful one. I also was talking to somebody else who has one in, and has the resources to maintain it and does, but doesn't like it because it's so expensive and is now stuck with it. So I think it just sort of depends on, I've definitely been in condo situations where some tenants want to spend the money to maintain some things and some don't, and then that becomes an issue. I mean, there's only going to be 2 people living here, but I love the concept. I understand, I want to go with you on your journey. And I think I just, for this particular context, for what this building is going to become, I'm not convinced that this is the appropriate solution. As much as I love a green wall and I love green and I want to soften it, and I see where you're going. I understand why the choice was made, but I have a lot of caution, and I'm just very, very concerned what comes after. What comes when somebody wants to change it. There's just too many unknowns, as opposed to doing something that is there and it's permanent, and that's the design gesture. So.
When I have a couple questions. One is, with the system that's being proposed, it's going to be anchored into some sort of structure. We don't see the building without the green, so we don't really see the coursing of the system. Is there a way to have either these horizontal elements or some other elements continue maybe behind it, or it be designed, well, I would say that those elements need to be there, so that if the green wall doesn't work out, those elements are there. But I guess my procedural question would be, there's no way to come back and say, oh, in a year you have to check in and present images like to staff, or?
Yeah, I mean, what my concern is what happens in 5 years. You know,
But,
which
you know,
has
the-
nothing
the-
to do with you at all. You know, it
The re-
doesn't even do with
But
any of
the
this.
reality is that you could say that about anything and any building and any material, not just
I mean, you
landscaping.
can't say that about tile
Things have to be
or wood,
maintained, things have to be kept painted.
but
things
not
have
in
to
the
be-
same way as living,
They're different, yes, of
you
course.
know.
My client loves the idea, and I can speak for him. I cannot speak for someone, or should you not ask that question of what happens 5 years from now if he sells or something? You know, it is incumbent on the people that are going to be in charge of the project whenever. And it may be that my client owns it forever. I don't know, but that's hypothetical, and I think you could say that about any material. It's important to maintain things, especially on the beach with salt air issues and flooding issues and all that kind of stuff. All of it is very important. And we thought this is an excellent idea to incorporate vertical green elements in a system that is easily maintained from inside, and it is a system that when you're inside, you're not looking at the back side of a green thing. You're looking at green inside also. So that was the unique thing that we wanted to bring to this project. And to your question about the structure of it, there will be obviously a structural framework that will meet all the requirements of the codes, et cetera, for holding the containers for the landscaping in place.
I mean, the green's important to the design.
Yeah.
Without the green, I think it would be, it would be stark.
Yeah, my only comment was to see if there's a way to get a both and solution. You know, I think the proportions, everything is working nice and it's well, and of course the renderings look great. But what is a solution if it's not that? I guess I'm not sure there is a both and, so we may just either have to say no or move forward in hope.
Yeah. I mean, there was also the comment too, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of a rendering that, again, with the sort of the vertical banding about how it goes up, it's nice in the front, it comes up and it goes around, and then it ends, and then it sort of restarts along the side, and I almost feel like I'd like to see the banding be continuous in a way, or at least rapid, or tell some sort of cohesive story. It's the same thing with the windows have a very punched out character. And then on the rear elevation, there's two, I guess if you go to maybe page 14, there's two rear windows that the frame of the window is bisected by the center fin or line. That seems sort of awkward to me. I mean, I just think that second floor, again, like just needs to be worked to be more livable, and to be more sellable. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, do you think that, Scott, have you seen that do they want privacy in the bathroom or do they want privacy in the bedroom?
I mean, truthfully, the whole shower exposed to the bedroom thing it's subjectively, a lot of people don't love that, but, can we? Yeah, I mean, that's tough too. Ideally, I mean, we all have our personal preferences. I like a bathroom to be private. I don't like to see people in the bathroom, or in the shower. especially.
I think we're trying to make this project as successful as possible, both aesthetically as, a kind of, as what it's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly where my comments are coming from and what Scott is saying too. But I thought it was sort of an awkward choice, but, it doesn't bother me as much as the green wall.
Madam Chair, I apologize for this. Something's come up and I have to leave in a few minutes. I don't know how much more discussion we were intending on this item.
If Sam leaves, do we have to end the meeting because
I
we don't
think
have a quorum?
we lose quorum for the rest of the applicants. I'm deeply apologetic.
Well, that being said, let's try to do something with at least this one. What do we want? I mean, I personally, I think this needs refinement. I can't support this design as is. That's my thought, that this be continued, but I don't know.
I can support that. I can make a motion to continue with the conditions that you review. I mean, are you wanting to remove the green wall?
I like your and or.
So is
some-
there,
something.
can you bring us an option that has that allows the green wall, but also is architecturally already present if the green wall has to go away? And then it sounded like your other condition was looking at the cohesiveness of the windows, their layout, with the relationship from floor to floor.
Okay. I second.
Motion by Ms. Meyer, second by Ms. Giller-Nelson to continue to September 3rd, and then direction to the applicant on options if the green wall dies and the relationships of the floor areas. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Motion passes.
So when would you like to, do you say September?
September 3rd would be so we would need to see some revised options, mid-August. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Never heard I've never heard the opposition to a green wall.
Okay.
Do you think we have time to maybe do the 41st Street project, because that is time sensitive for the city?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. DRB 24-1023, 41st Street right-of-way improvements.
Yes. So this, I'll just turn it over to the applicant to describe the changes. Oh, the applicant is the city.
Good afternoon, Colette Satchel, CIP. This project came to you 1 year ago, and for advisory review, we had favorable review with a few comments and conditions. Since then, we've gone to FDOT, and we've had several meetings which required substantial change to the documents. Consultants Jeffrey Huber from Brooks and Scarpa will walk you through that very quickly. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Jeff Huber, Principal at Brooks Scarpa Architects. Yeah, I'll just kind of go through this really quick. I think you understand the scope of work. We're from Alton to basically Pine Tree Drive, going 1 block north and 1 block south of 41st Street. A lot of what came about on the streetscape project was improvements of some of the existing challenges, whether those be trip hazards, excuse me, some lighting, some other inconsistent features, as well as broken pavement in the corridor. And so what we were looking at, this is the existing condition today. What we presented to you last time was what a concept that was called walks and oases, which was really looking at these kind of botanized asphalt areas that would go across the thruway that created these kind of shade hammocks and created a kind of pedestrian calming, or at least traffic calming along there. We went and brought this to FDOT, as Ms. Satchel has said. We were asked to kind of tailor that back. We are still coming up with the concept of these kind of walks and oases. So the walks are the kind of in-between zones of these Miami Beach red kind of sidewalk activation areas. And so just kind of walk through some of those major elements. Two, I just want to kind of point out, first and foremost, we're only removing 8 on-street parking spaces throughout the corridor, even though the city commission resolution allowed for a much larger amount to be removed, as well as there are a lot of Florida Royal Palms along this corridor. Some of those we are looking at removing also. And those that are being removed may be relocated along the corridor. This is one of the FDOT comments that we just got, that those are assets that they may want to be relocated. The city commission resolution actually allowed for those to be moved to the side streets, but FDOT doesn't see the side streets as their right of way, so they want them back on there. And so we're going to be looking at some of those challenges as well as we're moving through. We presented this last time as a kit of parts. That material palette is still consistent, as well as the landscaping is still consistent with what we presented last time. These are all drought tolerant, heat tolerant, saltwater tolerant type species that we are really integrating in there. They will also have specific plantings at the intersections to allow for line of sights, as well as specific planting around some of these, what we're calling those oases. Again, these kind of very planted, botanized kind of areas. Again, similarly to what we presented last time, same material palette, looking at seat walls, looking at the Miami Beach red, looking at some of these other gray concrete branded pavement patterns. And so we'll kind of get into that a little bit, and just tell me to slow down. I'm just going a little fast for Mr. Sheldon. So what you're seeing here at the top is the kind of existing conditions of the elevations along the corridor. And on the bottom too, you're seeing what we're trying to really do is create these kind of shade landscapes, or these hammocks along that corridor that currently don't exist. And these are happening around mid-blocks or important locations that, again, are what we're talking about, these oases. So it's a kind of prospect and refuge. That's what those walks and oases. The walks are these kind of areas between those shade hammocks, and then you get to these hammocks. So it's really breaking up this kind of tunnel vision that's happening along 41st Street and having a kind of prospect and refuge to those canopied areas. And so just working from the west to the east here, this is looking at Alton Road and at 41st Street. And so what you're seeing is to the north, to the south, we're really looking at bringing in some of the Miami Beach red concrete pattern that can go ahead and tie into those side roads. You're seeing some of the gray branded concrete patterns that are also going to be placed into the on-street parking areas. And so it really allows for that sidewalk to feel very wide. Even though we're only able to get about 7-foot clear zone for traffic along the sidewalks, we are not changing any throughway or traffic pattern on that street. No curbs are really moving out of sequence anywhere along 41st Street to preserve and maintain the 5 lanes that are currently there. This is just highlighting which the X's are pointing out where we're removing strategically some of these Florida Royal Palms that we can bring back in some shade trees. And then it's also highlighting with that red outline of the rectangle there that there is one on-street parking space in this area. It's not being removed in this case. This is the look and feel as you're looking north along Alton Road, and that's 41st Street, kind of in the middle ground there. And so you're looking at this kind of integration, looking for more shade trees, and that's why we're looking strategically to remove some of those palm trees. We are looking for gateway markers and other elements. And so what you're seeing in this one, this is on the north side of 41st Street with Alton Road directly behind us with some of these bench elements and some of those kind of public art wayfinding gateway entry kind of elements. At night, we're looking to integrate lighting into some of those features. And this is just what some of those gateway features some of the precedents that we were looking at. So these are going to be very robust, durable materials. We're actually looking to integrate potentially even perforated plate into them to allow for them to be even more shade structures and other elements as we're moving forward into the project. This is going down towards Garden Avenue. and 41st Street. And so again, this kind of creates a set or a family of these kind of features in there to really give that gateway at Alton and 41st Street a kind of clear identity as you're moving into that corridor. And so as we're working east, this is looking with Jefferson Avenue right there at the kind of center of this drawing. And so we're looking to bring that Miami Beach red in around that Starbucks area, and then you can see the branded gray concrete patterns. This is just highlighting we aren't removing any of the palm trees in this particular area. That's why you don't see any red X's, but you do see the.
Can I interrupt you with a quick question? So the sidewalks, some of the sidewalk is going to be the Miami Beach pink and some is going to be gray?
Correct.
It's not going to be consistent throughout?
Correct, and that's what we're still trying to create these kind of hammocks or these kind of rooms or these living rooms, if you will, and that's what that Miami Beach red, as it moves in, these become more of where we're intensifying, where we will have more furniture, more of the shade trees and other elements, where the gray branded, that's where we are looking at, where we're kind of keeping consistently where even planters are now, but we're going to be enhancing the paving. And basically, it becomes more of an open walkway where we'll have some of the and furniture. And then the other 80%, we're really trying to maintain ADA accessibility, walkability, and visibility to a lot of the shop fronts through those areas. And so this is just highlighting the amount of on-street parking that you see there on the top left. We aren't removing any on-street parking within this block. And so I think we presented this last time. You saw these probably even in the AECom reports that I think have even come in front of the city previously, but this is the existing condition. This is what was proposed by AECom. This is what we're really looking at. So again, you see that the sidewalk is being expanded to the maximum that we can get it. FDOT actually requires 10 foot. If we got 10 foot, you wouldn't have any landscape in this corridor. And so we're still trying to enhance with a very low maintenance landscape in here. And so you're seeing some of that condition along these kind of walk areas. At night, we did present this last time. We're looking at tree ring lights that would be basically straps to the tree. So they're not going to harm the tree in any way, but you would uplight the canopy. If you go in there right now, the canopy is not lit up, and so it kind of feels dark. And one of the things that we want to do is have some uplight into that canopy so you can kind of see those palm fronds wisping around in the wind, and then some downlight that really dresses out that trunk. We have been going through a lot of cost estimates. As you can imagine, costs in the last 3 years have kind of gone a little crazy, so we're looking at a couple different options. So we're showing and presenting you today an option 2 that just looks like we may put it on every other palm tree rather than every palm tree as a possibility with that, but we feel like this is a more elegant solution. Option 3 is one that maintains those string lights but permanentizes them. Right now they're kind of looped and kind of tied to all the lights. We've gone and had a lot of community engagement meetings. 80%, I would even say 90% of the community wants the uplighting that we were presenting in option 1 and 2, but there's still a small contingent that would like to see the string lights maintained. And so there's some challenges there where we would need to have them on dimmable. If you go out there right now, they're very bright, and so that has some concerns, especially with FDOT. And so this is just showing you what some of the tree ring and that strap light would look like. Again, we would minimize any damage to the tree, which I think was brought up last time we came in front of DRB. And so we wanted to kind of show you some of the specifications in our drawing sets on that. So again, moving east, this is where the Biscayne waterway is. We are looking to maintain the mosaic tiles and actually fix some of those tiles that are missing and maintain the pavers that are on the ground in that area as that enhancement. We didn't see it as much of a concern and wanted to maintain those elements that were part of a placemaking previously. And then we're bringing in that branded gray concrete and then tying back in on the side streets to some of the Miami Beach red coming back into there. And then here you can see we are removing one on-street parking space, and that's really to get some shade trees on that north side. One of the things that we did get with a lot of the community engagement was get more shade even outside these hammock areas. And so this is the only parking space. And then 2, actually, the city resolution was we could not remove any on-street parking west of Biscayne Waterway. That's why you weren't seeing any. So this is the first parking space to the east. So again, moving eastward, again, kind of maintaining some of those elements. This is where North Beach Elementary is on that block on the north side here, but looking at how some of that Miami Beach red concrete kind of ties into those side streets, brings it back towards 41st Street, but also looking at that kind of little respite that's there on the, just to the southeast of North Beach Elementary, and kind of looking at that becoming a kind of outdoor plaza with more shade trees. So it becomes one of these kind of outdoor living rooms with some of the enhanced furniture features. Again, on-street parking in this block is going to be preserved. None would be removed. And then as we're moving further east along this corridor, at this particular first mid-block crossing, that's where we're looking to enhance that with a lot of those shade trees, which, you know, pretty much was presented last time. It's just removing out that element that went across the throughway. And we are removing 4 parking spaces and a couple palm trees in this particular area. But the reason why we feel it's better to sacrifice a few parking spaces is just to the north of here, 1 block, is the 42nd Street parking garage, as well as some city surface parking lots. And so we're going to be having some signage that will be integrating around here, kind of pointing to those parking locations.
I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation. Given that this application does not require a vote, simply comments and recommendations, do you need my continued presence?
I believe just for the quorum purposes.
Just for the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so,
for the quorum
I'll wrap it up.
purposes.
okay, thanks.
So just, again, moving east towards the other mid-block crossing, again, similar kind of treatments. And again, you're seeing that we're removing 3 parking spaces. So that's the total of 8 parking spaces that you're seeing. This was, again, presented existing. This was from the AECom proposal. Here's where we're at on our current design for those mid-block kind of crossing, which was one of those features that really came out of that AECom report, to have areas for spill out and cafe seating. And then as we move further east towards the terminus at Pine Tree Drive, Henry Liebman Square, and we have, really what we're trying to make that is a true square. We're going to be bringing a lot of Miami Beach red in there, making it a kind of festival street, but we're not going to remove any of the on-street parking that's in there. But the street can be closed down at times to have markets, other festival events. And I'll just kind of show the rendering from the north side of the street looking south, and you can see Star Child there back towards Henry Liebman Square. Henry Liebman Square there itself looking back to the north with Star Child, and so the street is off to the left-hand side there. And that's it. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions. Sorry.
Thank you very much. So how should we proceed here? Okay. I guess we have to.
You can issue your advisory recommendation.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, I said, you can issue your advisory recommendation for the city.
Okay.
Yep.
Any comments? Or thoughts? Go for it.
Yeah, I just, so the structural things that were not really shade features, but they looked like light.
Gateway features.
Yeah, so I really like Miami Beach red, but I gotta tell you, it all looks like it was painted in Pepto-Bismol to me. The whole, it's too, like, and the cement is never the same color when they do new, and then it fades. And I think that color is awful for like a structural thing. Was that a big part of the design?
So that's why we moved towards the gray, and I'm speaking for Jeff, but that's why we moved towards the gray branded concrete for majority of the corridor. The red is introduced at a certain locations where we're harmonizing with the side streets, so you'll see it pick up on the side streets, because we've got to meet the condition on the side street. But people are familiar with the red, and the design is done in a way where, you know, it will look intentional in the future when they have to make repairs. The idea of doing bands of pavement throughout the whole thing.
I'm talking, the red pavement I like. It is these structures that are that pinkish
We
color.
can look at
Structural
alternative
things.
colors if that's.
Yeah, I mean, that to me
Okay.
looks like it's supposed to match, but it's not. It's just, I think it looks like Pepto-Bismol, just gonna be flat out there. And then are the Little House on the Prairie lights staying? Those Victorian era black lights?
They have to be maintained, yes. There's not a budget in the project to replace those. And then 2, there are the standard light for the city. And and part of the effort.
It just looks so out of place in this city on so many levels. I can't even.
Yeah, I would say, I know there's a budget, and I feel like that's my only concern, that, it's like you renovate one room of a house and then you realize that there's some other areas it didn't look, so, but, I mean, it is what it is. I think that, the sort of, what do you call it, the gateway structures, that I also would like those to be refined. I see what you're saying about the color. And the nice thing is, it seems like you could make them any color, and I agree that it's a lot of, it does become a lot of the red and the pink. I think standalone, it would be great in this flamingo pink, but I could see how, you're trying to be a little matchy-matchy, maybe something in like a yellow or some other fun, bright color. I would also, you started to allude to this a little bit about maybe using those for shade. That was in one of the pictures in your presentation. There were two views with the structures, and one of them is the base is surrounding a palm tree, and I thought that looked fantastic and really fun, and really, because it calls attention to the royal palm, which we all love. But then there was another one that was over the benches that it didn't have the same sort of intention, and what I wanted it to be was a shade structure, but it was see-through. So I think that with the placement, like, I like the idea of, I mean, obviously shade is a major theme with this. That's what I would encourage you to explore, how you can make some of those shade structures or put them in places where sort of art with nature situation. Yeah, that was and I think too, I remember our discussion about the lights. I would vote that the downlighting be on every other tree, that it doesn't need to be on every tree.
So option 2.
Yeah, option 2. Team option 2. And then I was also, one of the things that I was thinking about with the question that I had, so as you walk up and down 41st Street, the current paver situation is odd, and I feel like it changes. And so, but you mentioned that on the bridges, you're going to keep what's there. Is what's there that brick, or is it just white?
So it's like a gray paper, so I think
Okay.
it will go well with the branded.
Okay,
and
it's
we
not this, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like a
Correct.
white
It's-
frame and
right.
brick. That's not what's
It's
on the
not like,
bridge.
one of these is not like the, yeah, it's gonna be bridged a little and blended.
Okay,
To make
yeah,
sure.
that would, because I think that we want the street to be cohesive.
Right.
And right now it doesn't necessarily feel like that. Yeah, I think those were my comments. Oh, actually, I do have one more comment. I don't know if this is possible, but I'm sure it's come up. The Liebman Square sculpture is fantastic, and there is the largest, thickest light pole in front of it that I think
5G
is in
pole.
existence. Is there any possibility that could be moved? No? Or reworked? Could the square be reworked? I don't know, something, it's such a missed opportunity.
Right. It almost would be easier to move the arch than it would be to move the
Right.
5G.
That was one of the things when I was looking at your presentation. It seemed like it had been moved, and I got excited.
A little bit of artistic freedom there. Sorry.
I just have a question. Jeff, do we ever see the gateway structures over the gray pavers, or intentionally are they always linked with the Miami red?
We currently have them as in the Miami Beach red. Yeah, that's where they pretty much only stay within.
I mean, I personally, I don't have a problem at all with sort of the bright pink color in it, and I know that there are other bright colored sculptures around, but I think sort of these sculptures having their own color and their language being that they are a neon color ties them together. But I also understand sort of the relationship with the color palette that exists that you're working with and how it can be a challenge. But some things we may just not be able to change because those are contextual and set in place. But my only other comment is about these gateway structures. I do think you mentioned, how can they provide shade, and you also addressed, Sarah, how they embrace sometimes palms, which I don't love king palms, but can they embrace shade trees? Is there do they start to have a family where at one moment, if they are independent, there is this other layer of additional perforated metal or something that is attached? At the other moment, if they're engaging a tree or, you know, existing shade, then they appear a different way. So then you start to understand how they adapt to the context. I think that could be really interesting and help with the budget where you're not adding that additional piece to every moment.
How often are they
They
appearing?
only happen at the gateways, the two gateways at Pine Tree Drive and at Alton. At Alton, they do kind of slip back towards Garden Avenue a little bit, so within that block, on the south side of the block, but they primarily stay at the Pine Tree Drive and Alton Road intersections. There is one other area, I think we have them at the North Beach Elementary in that plaza.
I have a question. Sorry, were you gonna say something? I really like the idea about the gray sort of movement, you know, in the pattern, and how you're just doing that with different finishes, aggregates. So it's a language within itself, but the same material, etc. Is there any opportunity to introduce that language to the Miami Beach Red concrete, and then if you, with some experimentation, it may look slightly different, or you might like the broom, you know, it might change it a little bit, and.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can look at different tints, so it almost looks like it was meant to be. So, and the intent of that is if they do have to come in there and scar to dig up and kind of work on any of that, that it looks intentional, like it's not just a patchwork, that it was designed to kind of have that look and feel. So yes, we can.
I don't know, does that change at all how you feel about that? Or wait, you already liked the Miami Beach Red
I'm fine with the
concrete.
Miami Beach
Okay.
Red sidewalks in it. I'm like, it is Miami Beach to me. So I know that it changes, that doesn't bother me as much as that pink color sculptures next to it. I just think it's too much.
What if the benches weren't pink, but the sculpture was? Or it's just
It's a lot.
even
The
easier
benches are part of the concrete, that almost doesn't.
And it sort of
but
grows out of
It
it.
just kind of, yeah, anyway, but I made my point. I mean, take it for what it is, but I think
Noted.
that'd be.
I also just want to say that I think the use of the new trees and the intentional shading is clearly it's integral to this project, but since we're saying things that are going to be advised to the commissioners, like that's huge, you know, not cutting out any of that, you know, and where you have to sacrifice parking to introduce shading or moments of pause. I support the analysis you guys have done, and really excited to see again how the urban sort of landscape evolves as we continue to evolve the urbanism here.
And I know I always ask you this, what's the time frame? There's back and forth.
So there's a lot of work that's going on within the city, as you know, and this project is going to be combined with a water main replacement along 41st Street. Duration of construction is going to be anywhere between 24 to 36 months for the complete scope of that work. That has to be scheduled along with other projects scheduled, including the Alton Road project that FDOT has. If we can move quickly, we could get ahead of them, and we could start construction in the latter part of next year. If we do not get all of our permits in time, we may have to, we have to see where this project falls, schedule-wise. So we are running. That's why it was important to have this heard today. We need to get ahead of FDOT.
And then the water main project, is that like what you did closer to the ocean, closer to Collins? Is that the same sort of thing? Didn't you just replace a water main or no?
The piece across the bridge?
Yeah.
Yes, this is a continuation of that.
So all down 41st Street?
Yes.
Okay.
You want that to happen.
I know we need that to happen.
Yes.
I'm feeling sorry for all the city officials. They're gonna get massive complaints with,
Yeah.
But it has to happen, you know. I
And we've
understand
had
that.
a lot of public input, and we've taken all of that into consideration. If it has to be night work, it may just end up being that. The work cannot be continuous, all at once. We have to break it down in phases so that, to minimize the disruption. And that's something that we have a team of consultants just looking at the logistics of executing the project. So, yeah, we're ready. We're trying to move quickly and get this going, but thank you so much for your help today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we now need to continue the rest of these other two to the next meeting? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I guess they're
or we don't even need to because we're
we
not
don't
a
need to,
quorum.
they're automatically continued.
To the next. Yeah. mean, I don't know, can we do that, or how does that?
Yeah, you can provide some feedback. You just can't take a formal motion.
Okay. Oh, wait, you're on.
If we don't have a quorum, but then the three of us are talking about a project together, is that?
No, it's fine. You're in a
Oh.
public setting. It's
Oh,
being
okay.
recorded,
Yes.
so that's fine.
It's more like to receive the comments of your opinion, to work with that if we need to. We have time now because to September.
It's a while.
If in September you have the comments, to go to the next, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
So I'm not sure if I can answer the.
Yeah, it should be there. So these applicants actually have the next two projects that are the last two projects, Denbora Bay 1, Denbora Bay 2. So it's TRB 23-0960 and 0961. I guess I can let you know what our recommendations were. So for this first one, which is 704 84th Street, we were recommending a few things that the, should I just? Would you like me to do a formal presentation on this, give you our recommendations, because we did have a few design recommendations for these?
Yeah, I had some thoughts too, so,
Okay.
okay.
So for the first one, this is going to be 704 84th Street. We were going to be recommending that the architect incorporate the same screening proposed for the stair tower, and additionally that the architect recommend that the trellis structure and stair screening be reduced in height to the same height as the mechanical roof. Currently proposed, they have some screening along a stairwell that goes 15 feet above the rooftop level, which we feel overwhelms the design. So staff was recommending that be reduced. It's about 4 or 5 feet. And then additionally recommending that there be screening on the garage levels. That's something we've been recommending on most of these, on the perimeter of the garage to minimize light spillage. So the main design concern is that trellis structure be reduced in height, because we felt that it was just too massive for that, given the proportions of the design. So that's the main design concern. But I'll let them describe it, because I'll do a full presentation when it formally comes before the board.
Okay.
I'm not sure if yeah, there you go. Well, basically, to make it quick, I'm not sure if you want to go through the building or just the exterior aesthetic. This is a 7 units building. It has the ground floor only with the parking and the access to the apartments. And it locates 3 units in the second and third level, and another unit in the fourth level with a terrace with a jacuzzi. The materials, we are trying to make it natural materials, because we believe that over time it's easier to maintain with a cleaning than being dependent on the painting and the maintenance of that. And as these small lots are very challenging with the structure and locating the parking spaces, we're trying to put as much parking spaces as possible for the neighbors. And we decided to do some sort of exoskeleton with the structure, and to do like boxes with the siding texture, one in wood color and other ones with like a dark cladding panel and concrete textures. I'm gonna try to go like fast to the renderings, so we see that very quickly. There we go. So those are the proposed materials. As part of the requirements, we need to locate the stairs first, so that creates this like large panel in the front. That's kind of like mandatory. There is not much options for that. So we are creating a screen that it's permeable. It is a little bit covering the stairs because I don't find the stairs being aesthetic for the facade. But I don't want to have like a too hard surface there. So that's why we're proposing that metal panel. Those are the perspectives. Like the first one is from the street, like more on the other side. And then you see all the circulation, the open circulation to the side, and the rear facade. That's it? Okay. Well, that's like a look from the roof. Well, that's the main idea of the aesthetic of the building. Then you see the different concrete textures, the black cladding in the ground floor, and the wood color in the front.
I think that was a good summary of
Trying to make
everything.
it fast because I understand.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want to begin? And anything else? No, that was just the main points.
That's
to go
the main
over.
point, to see if you have any
thoughts.
comments on the design.
Okay.
Yeah, I can add a couple comments. So I was just quickly looking at Demora too, because I assumed there was going to be a similar architectural aesthetic, which there is. So I want to say that in terms of the trellis in the front, I understand why it's the height it is, but I also agree that I think if it, wasn't the most prominent feature, that it would feel a lot better. And so figuring out how does it feel cohesive with the design without having to go over the top of the elevator and the other mass, and so how does it get lowered but still feel integral, I would definitely support. My other comments are a bit of a question. I think you guys, I haven't seen a presentation from you before. You very clearly have a design aesthetic, one that I would suggest, to be something maybe more like South American than Miami, just from the colors, the material palette. I very much like it. I think that I appreciate, the exposed concrete, sort of these heavy, dark materials in some places, and then sort of a lighter, you say natural materials, but I know I see that it's aluminum wood colored fins.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because
But,
of like how it lasts,
right.
the lifetime of the
I
product.
appreciate the approach, and I think that the color palette is very thoughtful and one that I could get behind. However, it's not anything that we have really approved or supported in Miami Beach. So I guess my question is maybe one, since we're here to have the conversation and provide feedback to the remaining board members that are here, is, if our goal is to question how do these houses become, Miami Beach, and how are we supporting that language while also supporting artistic and design freedom within the proposals that come in front of us. So, I think if that would be the goal, then my response would be some of these elements need to become lighter and brighter. And so it's not about a dark contrast, but a light and then a natural contrast. I'll end there, and I think that's a discussion for both projects when we get to it.
I'm going to agree with Shauna that it struck me that you talked about wanting to use natural materials, because my first impression of this building is that this is a very industrial. And one of the things I'm constantly thinking about, especially for this site, is I know that this is an area of town that's in the process of doing some redevelopment, but right now it's a lot of single-story buildings. And so one of the things I do appreciate about your design is that you've designed it on all sides, because it's going to be seen from all sides for a while. However, I agree. I feel like this looks like it belongs in a different city. It doesn't seem like, and it's very dark, it's very industrial. I want it to be more inviting than I
More
actually
beach
feel like
style.
it is.
Lighter colors, I understand.
If you, can you bring up, I guess it's slide 15 in the presentation? Yeah, so it shows, oh no, the one before that, or after that. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I definitely agree with staff about the height of the trellis. And so, yeah, you have this really massive concrete encased column. And then the rear of the building, it just reads as sort of concrete block. It's not, it needs to be lightened. It just, like I said, it feels really industrial. And maybe even there are parts of Miami that this might sort of work, but in this area, in this, yeah, it needs to be less industrial and more
Perfect.
something else.
No, I understand perfectly. So that part, the concrete has the wood texture, but it's like the concrete. We can work it out.
Yeah,
It's board formed wood concrete. And I just want to say that I really appreciate that. I think it can be beautiful. And so I agree that it feels a little bit industrial. I think it's the architectural style, what you're choosing to express, and also an intentfulness with the materials that is an expression of the material, right? Which a lot of times we don't see here. So I'm wondering, without being artificial in our feedback, like, how do we maybe maintain the exposed board formed concrete, but these big sort of bold, concrete horizontal lines and frames around it, if they become lighter or if they have a soft color hue to them, even if the trellis, I don't think it has to change material, but it feels industrial when it's black, or if it was raw, but again, if it was white.
There's a lot of concrete, so maybe that's what it actually helps more in the industrial look. We can play with the colors, maintaining the textures.
Are you proposing
the aesthetic in general?
a two-way
it's
concrete
okay, but
slab?
Sorry.
Are you proposing a two-way concrete slab system?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, again, I don't want to say that that's bad. That I think is good design. We don't see, something where you're thinking about the structure and exposing the structure. So I appreciate that very much, and I'm wondering if there's a way that we can do it that just maybe makes it feel a little bit more Miami Beach,
We're gonna prepare options to present to Rogelio. I think that you know perfectly what they like. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think, and I'm not a working architect, so I'm just, relying on renderings and, the rendering, the wood too, the rendering is not doing justice. The tones of the wood they don't.
It can be lighter too.
If you're going for natural, a combination of natural and industrial, which I think is literally what the board pressed concrete does, I don't quite see that here. And that's what, there needs to be some sort of softening or lightening or something. Yeah.
Sorry, just to make one more point. I think it's because both the form is hard and rigid and then the materials, right? So like, if you're familiar with building on UM's campus by Architectonica, where it is all board form concrete, but then it has this sort of delicately curved roof that softens it so it doesn't feel that way,
something that helps with
so I think it's the combination of the two that makes it that hard. So I think, yes, maybe not to put words in your mouth.
No, I think that's a great way to put it. And I would just explore the materials, because even the glass it's all very just hard and angular and
okay, perfect.
I hope that's helpful. And I feel like it's similar. I don't know, do you have any other?
I agree with everything they're saying, but I still like it a lot. Like, I love that you see it from different angles, that it's interesting. The trellis definitely seems to overwhelm everything though. And, but I like a lot of it's interesting. And,
It is a challenging lot because it's very small, it's
they
very
all are.
restricted.
I mean, they all are. That's for sure.
But yes, we're open to your opinions. Obviously, you're here for the entire community, and I know that you're putting all the pieces together, so we understand. That's why we wanted to get this first
Good. I mean, it's helpful, it's helpful for us to recognize, you know, again, we're just trying to make this the best structure for the community, you know, and for you and your client, whoever. Really, she'd mentioned that the stairs have to be in the front for the zoning.
The understory regulations in the RM1 district have a requirement that the stairs be located before the elevator, I believe, is the requirement. Let me go to that.
And why is that? Just,
I believe it's to encourage more people to use stairs. It's sort of an active design guideline, and then from a design feature so that you don't have the elevator
funny,
well
yeah.
as the prominent feature in the front, that be more located towards the back, and not be the prominent front where you just have a blank column
yeah.
going all the way up.
because I feel like stairs are more likely to be unattractive than an elevator column that could have been decorated. Unless you do
Can
like
I
a really
clarify?
interesting stair.
Like, we try to put it in the, like, more in the halfway of the apartments.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
it wasn't possible. They were, I don't remember which part of the code will say that it needs to be in the front. Because we tried to put it more like behind.
Initially, we had it backwards. We had the elevator before, from close to the facade, and then the stairways behind it. But then we follow the comment
Especially
from
because
Rogelio.
it restricts a lot the main facade. Yeah.
It's an interesting code decision. I don't know, am I wrong? Like, I just think putting a stair is, you know, the feature in front of your building.
It's an
You wanna
accessory
see a
building
door.
in architecture. You know?
Right.
It's circulation. It's
yeah,
not
okay.
like, you know.
Well, and I
Okay,
guess
so
we're gonna be
it
seeing
says,
more of that.
So, yeah, you're gonna have the same situation in the other one.
Yeah, well, and also other projects that we're seeing to have the stair, you know, because one of my first reactions, not just with this, but with other ones we've seen, is don't put, the stair is not the dominant street side element.
There is not much that you can do with that element, that it goes all through. Yeah.
Here, we have the requirement, so you can.
Yes, so it says for new construction in the RM districts, if there is an understory level, at least one stair shall be visible and accessible from the building's main lobby. Whether interior or exterior shall provide access to all upper floors, shall be substantially transparent at the ground level, and shall be located before access to elevators from the main building lobby along the principal path of travel from the street.
So the stairwell itself can be enclosed, just not the initial, the first set of tread, like the first story. Like the first story has to be transparent, or the whole thing has to be transparent?
Shall be substantially transparent at the ground,
At the
at the
ground
ground level, and shall be located before access to the elevators from the main lobby.
Right. Because you'd also think that you'd want the stairwell enclosed and air conditioned. Also be protected from the rain. I mean, how annoying would it be
not
if
in
you
our
have to
climate.
walk up 4 flights of stairs when
Yeah.
it's pouring rain and you've got groceries?
And the thing is, most people are going to be parking under the structure, so they're going to get to the elevator before the stairs,
Oh,
unless they're
yeah.
walking in from the street.
But it's the stairs that are on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so is that, is that good? I mean, I think that those comments apply to both.
Yeah, the
Projects.
only doubt that I have with the other one is that we created, it's similar to this one in a certain way. We have the corridors in the lateral. And we created, I'm not sure if I can access here. No. We
In the other one,
created,
The woods are upstairs.
oh, sorry.
No, so in the other project, we did have a concern with the screening of the ground floor elevation. They use screening, if you can, go ahead and bring it up. The same material that's that screens the whole ground floor also screens the elevator column. The stairwell column. And staff felt that also overwhelmed that facade, and that perhaps a different treatment can be used for the ground level than what is used for the column. And also, as we've had screening along the whole perimeter of the ground floor.
Any chance we can see
Yeah,
the other
I think with
presentation?
the stairwell
Can-
versus here.
Can we load the other presentation? Yeah, they're gonna do it.
You're gonna-
escape there. Click first on the screen and then press escape. There you go. And then go to the folder that's already open there.
Okay,
At the bottom. And then the presentation should be right next to that one.
Thank you.
perfect, thank you.
No problem. On the top right, you can full screen it.
Quizás ese, no,
The little three dots, it might be. No, no.
en el otro.
Don't worry, you can just run it and I'll full screen it when I get done.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, similar situation with the size of the lot and more units.
So,
I'm gonna go to the renders,
wallpaper, whatever that is. This drives her.
but basically similarly, yeah, with the corridors on the side. Ahí está. Well, same idea, same or similar materials applied differently. The idea is to have a screening that it's a sort of dynamic, covering the stairs, so you're not so obvious to have a stair there, trying to hide it a little bit. Trying to play with this wood. It's not real wood, it's aluminum. But we are also proposing a screening with natural green plants linked with different iron wires and chains. I'm gonna show the side of it. Oh, well, this will be like the interior corridor. It is open, but the idea is to have a biophilic feeling for the people there, to have fresh shadowing.
That's between the stairwell, but in the that's like the entrance to their apartments. That's
That would
the
be the
side of
corridor
it.
from the
Yes.
elevator
Yeah.
and the stairway to the.
To be more
to the
protected
unit.
from the heat, the sun, and have more natural green. But at the same time, to have that screen that is gonna be building up with the plants. And I understand the concern that you had before with the green walls, but the idea is to have that natural growing.
And it will be more transparent in contrast to the one previously, where this one.
It's not the idea to have like a full green screen.
Well, I think this one has a little bit more room for if some things don't grow as well. Like there's a little bit more room for error.
Yeah. The
And
idea
it seems like it would look interesting without the green.
And also at the same way, this one is not located on the front facade, being the main point on the building, which is on the side, and is in order to create a more biophilic feeling for the habitat.
Yeah.
So you have the breeze and you're covered. It stops a little bit the rain, being an open corridor. So I think that's actually helped. But I wanted to bring it up because of what I heard before, just in case. And the idea is the same, to have like a common jacuzzi at the rooftop. And to have those shadows with those wood planks.
And these are going to be rentals or condos? They're gonna-
Rentals.
Okay.
¿Se van a vender esto? Oh, no, they're gonna be condos.
Each one individually sold?
Yeah.
As opposed to one owner? Okay.
We have 10 units there.
We're trying to put like as much green as possible, because we're in Miami Beach and we like the idea of nature, and that's why we have all that balcony in the front, and adding more green too. But once again, I want to clarify, there is a lot of concrete too. If you want to change that or to address that with different approach.
Thank you. I think I agree with staff's comment about the screening. I do like the rhythm that it has, and I think it's an interesting gesture that this is the stairwell, and so there's a rhythm of going up, and you have the rhythm in the aluminum. Yeah, I really like it as the stairwell column, but not necessarily. It is a little too much around the parking structure, so that would be something to sort of rework, and also. Yeah, I also, again, the rear, it feels very severe to me. Is that the detail that is that also the aluminum structure or is it wood? It's a little hard to see from the picture that you provided.
Well, it simulates wood, but
Okay.
it's with aluminum material.
But it doesn't have the rhythm of the tower.
Yeah, it has.
It has
Yeah,
the
it's-
same pattern.
I think it's
Okay.
the same application.
Okay, yeah, that was my question.
The picture on the right, that, the wall between the two glass doors is kind of like a big wall. Like, can you add more openness to that, or?
We have the kitchen behind that wall, so we have the countertops adjacent to the wall.
We can add like a backsplash window.
A
We-
backsplash window or something would be amazing. I
That's
just
nice.
think that that's just a big stark wall, and it's a shame not to have more light. That's a really beautiful and elegant solution. It's done in really high-end houses, and it's really a cool thing.
Yeah, we can add the.
That would be nice.
And also because you're going to get an interesting, I know that a backsplash is not eye level, unless you're short like I am, but that would be an interesting view too, again.
It is.
Because there's
It-
not
yeah.
much, what is it, facing north?
Well, that will be facing the
south.
neighbor, the rear neighbor.
Oh, there's a building behind it.
Correct.
Oh, sorry much for that idea. But still, I do agree that the wall should be
But
broken
they
up in
have
some
a
way.
balcony, right?
Yeah, they do have
balcony, so they can create their own.
Yeah, how wide are those balconies?
3 feet wide.
3 feet.
Yeah,
So they're
they're
really
small.
kind of catwalk things.
And there's no, are those sliding glass doors to access them, or no? Is there
Yes.
Yeah,
access in
there
the
is
rear?
sliding doors.
From the living room, for sure.
Yeah, so for sure, if that, just having a blank wall when you're out on a balcony too it's sad. So I think it would be fun to have a little more
Okay,
transparency
we can add it,
between the
yeah.
kitchen and the balcony.
One
Are
of
you-
the sliding doors belongs to the living room, and the other sliding door is to the master bedroom.
Uh-huh.
Are you guys proposing a metal structure or is the horizontal lines,
The
Just
horizontal
applied?
lines is just it's a C-channel trim.
it's just applied?
Correct.
Yeah,
not- it's
the
not
edge of the
structurable.
balcony, yeah, it's
not a
applied
structurable
to the
stable.
concrete.
So I guess, again, overall, think that these two designs are very thoughtful. I think I would ask you guys to explore, what is the color, of those, when you have these moments that you guys have created in terms of the lines and the rhythm or the features, what are their colors and what is their relationship to the other material next to it? So I would hate to see actually the board formed concrete go away, but how could you, the rest of the architecture, make it feel more refined versus industrial? And I think that you can do that very easily with a couple adjustments and even using color and shadow and light on your, as a tool.
Perfect.
Helpful?
Oh, absolutely.
Super helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because we have time now to work on that for September perfectly, so yeah. I
I-
really
yeah.
appreciate it because I know that was supposed to be done.
I also keep thinking about how the Denbora 3 is so close to the International Inn. Are you familiar with that building? It's this fantastic mid-century, and I just keep thinking how it's pretty much the opposite of this, that it's very light and airy and transparent, and this is so, it's very, very close. No, I saw on the map. So I don't know if that's something, if there's a way to blend these two, but certainly, that, and I mean, they were working, mid-century with truth to materials and a bit of a different type of industrial, but I don't know, something with the lightness or
I'll take a look to
throwing
see
it
what
out
I
there.
can,
You know, I mean, certainly there's plenty of inspiration all over the city for ways to incorporate, to come up with maybe a little bit different vocabulary.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank
good.
you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the feedback.
Okay. Any other? Okay. Meeting adjourned. We will see you guys. Did you want to have public comments? How do we do that? Although we ran out of quorum.
Yeah, well, since you haven't really made since you're not gonna be making any decisions about it, I would say that any public comment should be postponed until the next meeting.
Okay, where it can go officially on the
Yes,
record.
correct.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.